The iPhone Air breaks every rule of smartphone design. Smaller battery, fewer cameras, runs hotter, and it might be Apple's smartest move in years. Sounds backwards, right? But Apple knows exactly what they're doing, because this phone isn't about performance. It's about something most companies forgot to optimize: how it feels. And that changes everything. Here's what you're getting in this video. First, the real specs, battery life, and performance trade-offs Apple won't emphasize in their marketing. Second, a clear breakdown of who this phone is designed for and who should skip it entirely. And third, what this launch reveals about Apple's direction and whether future iPhones will follow this path. Stick with me, and you'll have a clear answer on whether the Air is your next phone. Okay, real talk, here's what you need to know. The iPhone Air is 8% thinner and 12% lighter than the iPhone 17. You get about 6 to 7 hours of screen-on time instead of the Pro's 8 to 9 hours. That's a full workday versus a full day. You lose the telephoto lens, and according to early testing from The Verge and MKBHD, it runs noticeably warmer during gaming or video calls. Not uncomfortable, but you'll feel it. On paper, those are compromises, but that's the point. Multiple reviewers say it's the first iPhone that feels effortless to use one-handed. You won't brag about it at dinner, but you'll grab it without thinking, hold it more comfortably, and barely notice it's even in your pocket. Apple had a problem. The Plus wasn't resonating with buyers. The Pro was pushing past 225 grams, that's nearly half a pound in your pocket, and the base iPhone? Reliable, yes, but hardly exciting. That's where the Air comes in. At $999. It slots perfectly between the $799 Standard and the $1,099 Pro. The Standard handles the basics well. The Pro handles everything. No compromises. But the Air? It's the one you'll actually enjoy carrying every day. Apple's not chasing benchmark-obsessed buyers anymore. They're chasing people who want a phone that feels better to live with. Now, be honest with yourself, skip the Air if you're on your phone more than 6 hours a day. If you play graphically intense games like Genshin Impact or Call of Duty Mobile, if you regularly shoot and edit 4K video, if you need your phone to last from morning till midnight without charging, or if you live somewhere consistently hot where that extra warmth becomes genuinely uncomfortable. It's also not the move if you use Zoom a lot for photos, since you're losing that telephoto lens. But if you're a regular user scrolling social media, texting, browsing, snapping casual photos, streaming music, and you want a phone that feels almost weightless in your hand, the Air actually makes a lot of sense. While Samsung packs bigger batteries and Google pushes AI, Apple's betting on restraint. Maybe progress isn't adding more, it's removing what doesn't matter. Now, you could say Apple's just spinning a limitation as a feature, that they couldn't fit a bigger battery, so they called it intentional. And maybe that's true. But here's what's really interesting. This isn't just about one phone. It's about where Apple thinks smartphones are heading. For years, the industry played the same game. Faster chips, bigger batteries, more cameras. But we've hit a wall. Phones are already fast enough. Cameras are already incredible. Battery life is good enough for most people. So what's left to improve? Apple's answer: how it feels. Not what it does, but how it makes you feel when you're using it. Think about it. When was the last time you actually noticed your phone's processor speed? When was the last time you thought, man, I wish this had more RAM? Probably never. Because performance stopped being the problem years ago. But you do notice when your phone feels like a brick in your pocket. You do notice wrist fatigue after scrolling for 20 minutes. You do notice when it's awkward to hold while standing. That's the gap Apple's targeting with the Air. Not what's written on paper, but how it actually feels in your hand. And that's fundamentally different from what Samsung, Google, or OnePlus are doing. They're still optimizing for benchmarks. Apple's optimizing for comfort. Here's where it gets even more strategic. The Air isn't just a product, it's a test. Apple's seeing if people will pay more for less power, but better comfort and handling. If this sells well, you'll see Apple double down on this direction with future models. Thinner, lighter, simpler. Less about impressing you with features, more about disappearing into your routine. And if it doesn't work, Apple just quietly phases it out like they did with the iPhone mini. No harm done. But if it does work, if people choose comfort over specs, Apple just redefined what premium means in smartphones. Not the most powerful, not the most feature-packed, just the one that feels the best. That's a shift. And it's a move only Apple can make because their brand is strong enough that people trust them even when they're taking features away. Samsung or Google couldn't sell a less powerful phone for more money. But Apple? People will line up for it. So, should you buy the iPhone Air? If you're coming from an iPhone 12 or 13 and you've been feeling like your phone is just a little too heavy, a little too thick, this might be the upgrade that actually feels like an upgrade. If you're considering the Pro but don't really use the telephoto lens or need that extra 2 hours of battery, save yourself $200 and get the Air. But if you're a power user, if you're constantly on your phone, if you travel a lot and need that battery cushion, if you game or edit content, stick with the Pro. The Air will annoy you. The key is being honest with yourself about how you actually use your phone. Not how you think you use it, not how you want to use it, but how you actually do. Because the Air rewards a specific type of user, the one who values feel over function. The iPhone Air might not be the most powerful phone you can buy, but it might be the most human. Because in a world where every brand is screaming, "Look at what we added," Apple just whispered, "Look at what we removed." And sometimes that's the smarter kind of innovation. Not everything needs to be bigger, faster, louder. Sometimes the best product is the one you forget you're holding until you realize you've been using it effortlessly all day. That's the iPhone Air. Not for everyone, but for the right person, it's exactly what they've been waiting for.